presents. I'm your host, Cheryl Noble. On today's program, I'm going to get to know a little better the new CEOs of the Greater Grass Valley Chamber. As you might have heard, for nearly 20 years, the Chamber had one executive director, but now the leadership has changed. And with me are the new leaders, Robin Galvin Davies and Keith Davies. They're here with me today, and thank you so much for being here and telling us the direction and a little bit about you.
So we're very pleased to be here.
Yes,
Thank
it's
you,
a pleasure.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, let's start with a little background. Both of your backgrounds, Keith, let's start with you. You both have strong corporate and touring and events and productions.
Yes.
I'll go all the way back. I'm fourth generation. I'm born and raised right here in Nevada County. I was born in the Miners Hospital.
Wow.
And my great-grandfather, on both my mother and father's side, came over for the mining, the hard rock mining.
Wow.
And my grandfather was on the city council when City Hall was built in Nevada City. My uncle has been a past city council member. My dad was a past city council member. They were involved in the community and the business community, and I was, as I say, born here in 1947.
You have deep roots.
I do, and I graduated in 1965 and left very soon thereafter, and came back for college a couple years, but was involved in the San Francisco community, and then was drafted and went to Vietnam and came back, and when I got back, I went to DJ school. I was going to Columbia School of Broadcasting, and I finished it on the GI Bill. And when I was just starting to send my demo tapes out, I got a job offer with Ice Follies. And from 1969 to 1975.
And what was the job for with Ice Follies?
It was a management position, and I was in
Okay.
management the entire time I was with Ice Follies, Holiday and Ice. So I traveled for 6 years from 1969 to 1975. During that period of time, we bought Holiday and Ice, about 1972. Robin was skating with Holiday and Ice during that period of time. And so for the next few years, I knew Robin during that period of time, and then we went different directions. I left the show, Robin left the show a year after I did, and we didn't see each other for 30 years. And we went to a reunion in 2007.
I love these stories.
And we saw each other at the
story.
reunion, and we talked for the 3 evenings we were there, and we've been together ever since.
And here you're back in Nevada County.
We were back in Nevada County. We've been back 18 months. And that had to do with my mother. We thought it was a good idea to come back and be closer to my mother. And,
still here.
and we are. And the whole thing evolved. Where we are now evolved from coming back here and our very close.
An ice show connection.
And ice show, well, it goes back to Dan Miller. Dan Miller, the mayor of Grass Valley.
Okay, yeah.
And
he's
Dan's,
a long-time resident as well.
And Dan and I went to school together.
Oh my gosh.
And then Dan was the stage manager for Holiday and Ice. So when I was with the show, so he knew Robin, because Robin was staying with the show, and so there was another connection. Well, because of Dan's connection with Grass Valley and he knowing both of our background, the whole thing started with a conversation with Grass Valley as to what maybe we can do to help Grass Valley.
Now, was that about the time then that Marianne was looking, and we're talking about Marianne Mueller, who was about 20 years as executive director. I mean, she was the face of the chamber for so many years and really took the chamber to very productive levels and a big presence in the community and really served the businesses. But it was about time for her to retire. Plus the chamber had to move, so I think there was a real shift in the energy with losing the home that it had for so many years, and the temporary residence at Being Easy Living, and now at the Holbrook. So is that about the time that Dan was talking to you about how you might re-enter,
it actually started,
re-plugged in?
We came back in October of of 11. The conversation started in November of 11, right after we got here. And it started with a meeting with some of the city council members and Dan Holler. And the real interest and how it all started was at the end of that first meeting. Dan Holler mentioned something about it would be very interesting in putting a visitor center in downtown Grass Valley, because he was the county administrator for South Shore, where he was before he came here, and he developed this visitor center there, so he knew the value.
Right.
At the end of that meeting, when he mentioned it, both Robin and I mentioned back to him, you know, if you ever really wanted to pursue that, we'd be interested in doing that.
Okay,
so that's how it all started.
Yeah,
and then meeting after meeting after meeting after that, and it kept going on.
So this was kind of a separate direction at that time. It wasn't a collaborative or a combined chamber visitor center thing. It was because Marianne was still there at the time.
Correct.
I see.
And it wasn't even a conversation at that time had anything to do with the chamber.
So as things unfolded, she went off in a different direction, and then this.
That's pretty much exactly right. When what we understand is that she indicated last summer that she was interested at some point in retirement.
Okay.
She didn't give a date, but just at some point. Yeah. And by that time, the board was also talking with the city as to how we could combine both the visitor center and the chamber. And with her announcement, it just evolved to the point, and sooner or later the board started talking to us, and we were interested.
And she left, I think, in December of 2012, right. So just a few months, just a couple months ago. Right. And so one of my questions would be is, why did you want to do the jobs, plural now, because you're going to be doing the visitor center entity of it, and Keith has the operations side of the chambers. But you kind of stated why you wanted to do it. Your heart is in the community and growing it. And
well, there's actually a number of reasons. I'm going to let Robin speak here in a minute. I'll let you fill in on where she came from, what some of the things she did prior to us coming back together again in 2007. But some of the reasons that we wanted to do this is one, because when we came back here, we were looking for something we could do together.
Okay.
So, though we had no idea this would ever be potentially one of them, we were looking for something to do together.
Yeah.
Two is we could do it. It was a situation where we've been retired for 5 years, and we were at the meeting with you last February at the Stonehouse.
The tourism.
And at the end of that meeting, after the 2 hours, remember it was a 2-hour meeting? I believe it was Julie Baker. Julie Baker at the end of it said, you know, I've been to a number of these meetings as long as I've been in the position I've been in at the center and
Center
for the Arts, and she said, you know, who's going to take all these ideas and all this energy, and who's going to do this?
Yeah.
And it went around the room again, and really wasn't settled. John Blinder, it kind of came back to John Blinder.
Yeah, he was with the ERC, Economic Resource Council at the time. And it really wasn't settled. And I remember Robin and I that evening having dinner, and we discussed the meeting that day, and we said, you know, who's going to do this? Well, we said, we can do this. Oh, gosh.
With our background, maybe this is a direction we should look.
And throw out there, toss it out there to community.
We continue
and it almost takes somebody with so many ideas. It almost takes somebody coming forward to say, step up and I'll do it. And not everybody has the luxury of the time or their place in life, their time in life, to be able to do it. So,
well,
and this was a sign for you. You were at that meeting.
We were at that meeting, and John Blinder closed the meeting by saying there are things happening behind the scenes that I'm not at liberty to discuss right now. That left everything in suspended animation.
Right.
And Keith, and as Keith said, we discussed it, and with the acumen, the experience, the body of work that we've done, we do have the experience.
Right. And your background is just as in-depth and strong as Keith's. Of course, you mentioned the Ice Follies, but you have a big productions and
Yes.
of taking productions on the road. Is that it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Art production.
An art
Art.
production.
That was it.
Yes,
Art.
had an art gallery, and then produced one art event in our own gallery that was very, very successful.
Mhm.
And other gallery owner friends looked at it and said, "Gosh, I'd love to do it." And said, "We'll produce it for you." And one led to the next, led to the next, led to the
Yeah.
next, and it ended up becoming a career.
Oh, there you go.
We were
And
retired from
you had
retail.
retail stores many
Right.
years also.
Exactly. So we retired from retail, produced art events all over the country.
Yeah, well, you two together, I mean, what a great gift for the community to have these two entities come together, because they could have been separate, and or one, like the visitor center, there's a need, and but by combining them together in the same location, you help one another, the chamber and the visitor center, but it also helps the greater community, helps the businesses, the tourism, which is vital. We know how much everything is promotion of our community, bringing the focus here. Where are we putting our dollars to better promote? So we've got this nice balance here, and I really believe you two have got it to take it onward.
And so you understand, the chamber and the visitor center are one. It is not separate.
I understand
They
what
are
you're
one.
saying. You've
Yeah.
had two separate entities that are coming
They are,
together,
that's
merging
correct.
as one.
And they are one.
Makes, I think more and more business models these days are looking at collaboration and coming together with their different components and their different services and their different offerings, so that you strengthen the whole. It's almost like the parts equal the sum. And
Well, and let me say
stronger.
this, because I'm proud of this. It was four entities, two private and two public, that came together, and this happened because the four entities came together and they wanted it to happen. You had the City of Grass Valley, you had the Chamber of Commerce on the public, and you had the Davies, us, and our two, Keone Allen and Jeff Johnson, who owned the building. And so concessions were made, and lots of meetings and conversation, and because everybody wanted
the
to happen,
willingness.
that's
the
how it
willingness
happened.
Yeah.
That's how it
Where
happened.
there's a will.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit then about the transition, because you and you were kind of, if I got this, the business plan, which is quite comprehensive and extensive, that combines both the visitor center and the chamber. Let's just take one little short-term aspect out of this business plan, and that is the new location. Tell us in the transition time and how long, when you'll get moved in, and what you got vision for that.
We have a lease commitment with the Holbrook through April.
Okay.
So we will be honoring that lease commitment and taking the opportunity to build out the space at 128 East Main Street.
And that's 128 East Main, and that's directly across from City Hall.
Correct.
So we really got that the hub there.
Yes, it's a good hub.
The
It's
pulse,
parking, we've got plenty of parking
Exactly.
across the street, and one block off from major hotels in downtown. We talked about, well, what about something closer to Mill Street or whatever? And general consensus was that was not a good idea because of the retail space. That's valuable retail space, and we did not want to be in the middle of what could be, is sales tax
Business.
revenue and so on to the city. So we didn't want to interfere with that.
Yeah. We were talking before we went on too, you mentioned that it was something like 2,200 square feet. I mean,
Right.
that's a sizable space.
It is, and it allows us to have chamber offices that are large enough to be functional.
Mhm.
And we have a large volunteer staff, so
And we do.
we need more. We needed more space all the way around. So this is good. And go ahead and tell Cheryl
The visitors.
we're going to go in April.
Oh, right.
Going in April, and the offices will be situated by the end of April, open and functioning. That's on one side of the space.
Okay.
We'll be visqueened off, I'm sure, while we work on the interior of the visitor center.
The visitor center. And
And
that
that'll
is
be a soft opening in June.
Exactly.
of the visitor center?
The visitor center, the whole complex will then be open in June with a
yes.
soft opening.
So from April, so you expect when you get in April, now are you doing any tenant improvements now? Before?
We're right now getting the building permit from the City of Grass Valley because we have to put new ADA bathrooms
Okay.
in
Oh.
and some electrical work.
Okay. So,
And so we need the permit from the City of Grass Valley to do that.
all right, so you're just about ready to get the permit, and then
Yep.
you can start some tenant improvements. And so you're saying when you're moved in April, by the end of April, from April to June, you're going to get the visitor center up and going?
That'll be,
Wow.
we'll continue to work on that,
You're on
and
the-
then June we'll open with a soft opening and a grand opening in July.
You're on a fast track.
Yeah.
You were right that you were serious about getting things going and really picking up the momentum.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Good.
absolutely. If it's on Keith's list,
The-
it must be done.
The action item list.
It is.
He keeps it checked off.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the whole visitor center is something I want to save for another time because you've got beautiful visions. Another short-term item, if we could just touch on this real quickly before we end, membership, because that's important and vital and needed to capture our business audience. What are just a couple of the highlights with regards to providing services and making the businesses feel that the value of the chamber?
Well, the chamber, for it to function, just like the studio and what you have here, the mother's milk of politics is money. And it's no different for what you're doing here,
Sure.
and many of the organizations in Nevada County as well as across the state. It's the same with us. Membership, since the recession started, has dropped off, partly because businesses have gone out of business, and partly because maybe they haven't been happy with where the chamber was going and some of the direction in the past. And we've lost about 150 businesses in the past 4 years.
Wow, that's a chunk.
So the goal, there is, our number one goal for the rest of this year is to build our membership up by 20%, and then the goal is 10% a year after that. And we don't think that's outrageous at all, because we've got approximately 2,000 business licenses in the City of Grass Valley, so we have a long way to go.
Right.
Now,
And new ones will still
Indeed.
keep coming on as.
and we want to bring back those members that used to be with us,
Great.
and yes, we want to. How do we show the members the value? The value is maybe not what you can get for that $200 you're going to give us. The value of it is many $200 memberships. And then what can we do with it? My goal, our goal, in the next 2 years is to produce enough events for our membership that the money that comes into the chamber from those productions and the fun events that we're going to put on, that it will pay for the Chamber of Commerce's overhead. So that the membership money that comes in will go toward the promotion of Grass Valley and Western Nevada County.
Which will then help their business as more people.
The hope is that the more people, the more businesses, the more strength that we have as a Chamber of Commerce is going to go out to all of the community, and no matter what your business is. And also being part of the Chamber of Commerce is, we want it to be fun. We want it to have a reason to come to our functions, come to our events, come and talk to not only Robin and I, but our board of directors and many of the other members.
Yeah, make it a community.
Make it a community thing and enjoy it, because there's going to be some fun things. We had a list of things that are going to be that as a member you're going to enjoy, and we hope through communication with the business community and them coming to us direct and saying, this is how you can help me, that I am going to help them.
So
And
listening to
they'll
their
grow.
needs and how to then serve them.
Everyone's got a
Sure.
they know their business, I don't know it all. So they've got to come to me and tell me, you know what, Keith, here's what you can do for me, and please, because if you do, it'll make things better. So if you've got the idea and you know what you want to do with it, and me as the chamber can help you, that's what I need to hear.
All right, well, we're going to leave with that little tease of your list of activities that you've got planned, and we'll talk about that and the Visitor Center and some more of your visions on the next program. So
we look forward to that. We'd love to come back
got a lot
and
to
share what
say.
it
This
is.
is exciting. So thank you, Keith
Oh,
Davies,
Cheryl,
and
thank
thank you, Robin Galvin Davies. Welcome aboard, and this was all good stuff. So, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Noble One Productions Presents.